When President Uhuru Kenyatta thought of a nation, a peaceful nation, a united nation called Kenya, he scored highly to the international community and to Kenyans. When the former Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga thought of a nation called Kenya, he scored highly. It is that redemption strategy, the coming together of opposition and the government, the president and the former opposition leader, or the opposition leader of Kenya, that has made Kenya peaceful, united, working together to date. It is therefore very important for the people of Kenya to realize that the most important thing that every African looks at when talking about Kenya is peace. But what kills Kenya is tribal enclaves, bad elections, bad electoral mechanisms, bad political morals. People lack political morals. People lack good electoral mechanisms. People think of tribes. It is not the poor, it is not the rich, it is not the destiny, it is not the hustler nation. No. Those have been there for many times, many years. But what has killed the country is that those one key thing, elections. If Kenya can sort out its electoral mechanism, that a winning candidate embraces a losing candidate, and a losing candidate embraces a winning candidate. They work together as a nation, work together as people of Kenya. That's the day that Kenya will rise and become a very good country, beyond what it is today. But the moment we go back to our tribal enclaves, we poison the politics. We play Machiavellian politics of backstabbing, intrigue, manipulation, machinations that flow in the Kenyan political arena. It's the moment that we destroy the same nation that needs that unity. President Uhuru Kenyatta, therefore, don't give up. Former Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga, don't give up on unity or purpose. Always strive to unite, leave a legacy of a united Kenya. That is the price you will give to the generations, the grandchildren, to your generations that will come. You might not be there to see the price that you have, the foundation you have laid. But once you leave that legacy of a united, peaceful Kenya, both of you and many other leaders in Kenya should not give up in search for that unity. I thank you very much. Those are my views. I believe a redemption strategy, and I repeat, a redemption strategy, the healing, reconciliation, reparation, accountability, truth-telling, those are the values of the handshake, a united Kenya with capacity to accommodate all. Thank you. Thank you, listeners.
A very good morning to you, and thank you for joining us. This is Good Morning Africa. My name is Miriam Abatu, and of course, as usual, we're coming to you from Kenya's capital here in Nairobi. Indeed, a beautiful morning here, and I trust that your day has started off well. Wherever you're watching us from, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are tuned in this morning. On the panel today, I'm joined by Douglas Kirimi from Meru. Douglas, good morning.
Good morning, Miriam. Good morning to the crew. Good morning to all our viewers across the world, and also good afternoon and good evening, depending on where they're watching us from. Thank you for having me.
All right, very well. And obviously, Douglas, you understand today we have so much to talk about. But before we get into that, I would like to bring us up to date with the latest figures of COVID-19 in the country and the total figures in Africa this morning. And Kenya, the confirmed cases right now stands at 85,130 cases. The death toll is 1,484. Recoveries is 56,464 cases. Uganda, 21,409 cases. The death toll in Uganda is 206, and recoveries is 9,044. And South Africa, which is the leading country in the continent, stands at 794,472. The death toll is the death toll in South Africa is 21,709. Recoveries is 734,305, and the total cases in Africa this morning, 1,733,515, and the number of deaths is 58,800, and of course recoveries right now stands at 1,389,111. The global figures have surpassed 64.8 million. The global deaths have surpassed 1.4 million, and recoveries globally have surpassed 44.9 million cases so far. And of course, those figures, as I say here, are subject to change because every country across the world, they keep updating the latest. And so if you go check a minute from now, you might find a totally different thing. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. So this morning, of course, the leading newspapers are here in the country. All of them. The Star newspaper, Ruto tough demands, heads to no campaign. The Standard says a DP at a crossroads. And the Daily Nation says a yes or no, Ruto set BBI terms. So let's just start with the Daily Nation, and they've captured it. And the Star is saying Ruto tough demands, heads to no campaign. Maybe we start with that, Douglas, before I even get into the details of what happened yesterday.
Miriam, I said yesterday that the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya is not concerned about the BBI process. All he has is his 2022 presidential bid, and there is nothing else that the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya has on the paper for Kenyans. The demands that he keeps making after every minute are demands that are geared towards sabotaging this process, and there is nothing new we can expect from the Deputy President, Miriam. I said yesterday, if he goes to the yes camp, the Asaras are going to disappear from his camp, and also when he says yes, he says no, he is going to have it rough from also majority of Kenyans who will also see him as a saboteur. So he has to keep being at crossroads, and he cannot afford to go to either side. So he has to keep doing that so that you say their demands were not met, so let them do their thing, Miriam.
All right, very well. Thank you so much. And we're also joined by Kidi Mwaga. Kidi, good morning.
Good morning.
Very well. Nice to have you this morning.
I am still late.
All right, so keep connecting there. I shall come back to you shortly. But we're also joined by Jevan Karanja, I believe. Jevan, good morning.
Good morning, Miriam. Good morning to Kidi and Douglas, and to all our viewers wherever they are watching us from.
All right.
Good morning.
Very well. Yeah. Okay, very well. Nice to see all of you this morning. So the Star newspaper, Ruto tough demands, heads to no campaign. And the story is on page 4 and 5 of the Star newspaper this morning, and it says Deputy President William Ruto has set the stage for a showdown with President Uhuru Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila Odinga by setting tough conditions to back the BBI referendum. Flanked by scores of members of parliament, he claimed there were 146 and a host of governors to demonstrate his clout. Ruto called for radical amendments to the already published BBI bill. The DP and his troops are also demanding the referendum be held alongside the 2022 general elections. Political observers see calling for a dual vote as a tactic to oppose the plebiscite. And Jevan, I mean, I don't know if this is what we expected from yesterday's meeting while we were speaking here in the morning, but are you surprised by these new demands from Ruto's camp?
No, Miriam, that is something that I anticipated when I said that one of the main reasons that William Ruto was congregating his troops in Karen was to show that he still have numbers that he controls. And Miriam, we saw that he has numbers. Although the big number of the people who are there were MCAs, we still know that he can command a big number, especially from his tough areas and his strongholds of Kericho, Bomet, and so on. And we saw that expressing itself well yesterday. And the number two thing that we say, I was looking into for why he called this meeting. This was to bring and try to seal the gaps that were trying to emerge within the Tanga group, where some of the people were supporting the BBI and others were saying that we need the consensus. Those people are still cornered in the consensus mentality. And he was there to try to bring and to try to seal those gaps. But what I see, I don't think that was a surprise of the new demands that they are making, because these people have never supported the initiative of a BBI. And when we were launching the BBI in Bomas, and the deputy president went head on with to the president and the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, making new demands. And some of his demands, the BBI team tried to put them into consideration. And we expected him to support the BBI because slightly, almost 80% of what he was concerned about was considered. But he didn't do that. But yesterday, he came up with new contradicting demands that the referendum should be held the same day with the general election. And Miriam, that leaves us with a question that what makes him feel like the referendum being held the same day with general election will not divide this country? Because they are saying that the aim of of not having the BBI or not going for the no camp is because they don't want a country where we'll be divided. And I want to remind them that whether we do the referendum in 2022 or in 2025, there'll still be people who will be opposed to the document. We still have divisions, Miriam, because at the end of the day, even in our family, we don't agree wholesomely to all the ideas that are put on the table. Therefore, how can 47 million Kenyans agree on a constitutional amendment proposals? Therefore, I feel like these is not a surprise. I feel like that is where they belong. And I think to a point, like if you read yesterday from the body language of the deputy president, he was not quite certain of where he wants to go. He was talking from a side of you could read confusion, a man who is not certain of the direction of his political direction, and that is not the kind of a character that we expected the deputy president to have, because we know him as a man who goes direct to the point. But yesterday he was trying to be quite even lenient with the words that he was using. He was not using tough words. He was trying to be a neutral and to show that his demands are quite genuine. But we know that he is not genuine. He is opposed to the BBI process. And it's only a matter of time, Miriam, before he says no, because even if those reservations that he have are met, I feel like he will continue opposing the document, because this is an idea that from the onset, they feel like these are process to curtail and to make sure that the deputy president will not be the president of this country. But that is not the case. But according to them, that is what they feel. And they will not support this initiative. And I feel, Miriam, from yesterday, something that I also anticipate that moving forward, we'll see a divide of the Tanga wing trying to be neutral and disappearing from the public limelight because they don't want to be seen opposing the document. That is something also from a political point of view, that is something that I can look into, and I can see it coming as we move on towards the process of the BBI. Thank you.
Thank you, Javan. And the story continues on page 4 and 5 of the Star newspaper. Ruto is preparing his soldiers for a no campaign. He knows the demands are absolutely too late. The Constitution provides that where a bill has been published for amending a constitution, it cannot be amended, and that is according to the National Assembly Chief Whip Emmanuel Wangwe, who told the Star. Now, ANC leader Musalia Mudavadi accused Ruto of taking Kenyans in circles and failing to provide leadership. Kitty.
I think I want to identify entirely with those sentiments of Honorable Mudavadi. If you ask me about the current meeting yesterday, I would say that was a meeting of a snake oil merchant together with his minions on how to further dupe the people of Kenya, especially in regards to the BBI process. Because if you listen keenly, one, you realize that there was absolutely nothing new coming from Deputy President William Ruto. One, he was talking about consensus. At the same time, he was talking about holding the elections in 2022 and quote unquote at absolutely no further cost, apart from the cost of the general elections. We've said this before, that at some point, Jeremiah Kioni published a bill that was seeking to have the referendum conducted together with the 2022 general elections. The question is, what is the mischief that the referendum was seeking to cure? And anyone would tell you that a referendum as part of the BBI process was seeking to cure the menace of 2013 and 2017 elections. That we cannot go to elections and then a year to the elections and a year after elections, the country is in such high political temperatures that absolutely no investment, no transactions can take place. That investors are holding on to their money because they cannot tell which direction the country can go into. But then, the deputy president has maintained, has consistently refused to support this process. So instead of coming out and saying that I do not agree with the BBI process, he has perfected the art of taking people in circles as snake merchants do. So one, he has talked about all the demands listed yesterday. They are absolutely nothing new, and if you listen to him, what you get from William Ruto is that one, he doesn't have the courage to oppose the BBI process, but then he's taking everyone in circles. So yes, I think that he must stop taking people in circles. We must stop giving him further audience, and now we must confront him either on the streets politically, or let them go to court so that we also face him in court. But then a time as now, we have passed the stage when we could have compromise or consensus. Thank you.
All right, very well. And so Kitty, his suggestion that we should have the referendum alongside the general election 2022, is this even possible?
Well, yes, it is possible, but I find that suggestion mischievous. Mischievous because one, it means that we are going to, that all the energies and talent and imaginations we've invested in making our country better, in making sure that we do not go to an election again where we have to fight as we've been fighting before, that all that energies will have gone to the drain. And we shall be doing this at the convenience of William Ruto and not at the convenience of Kenyans. Because you realize that William Ruto has refused to support this process since it began in 2018. So that, that is a suggestion that you would classify as, being too intelligent, being too clever by half. So we can't do that now, because some of the problems we're seeking to cure them before we get into another election. that Kenyans will not be going to an election fearing that truckloads of police officers shall be deployed to rape, to kill, and to maim. Thank you.
Javan, or rather Douglas, why do you think the DP and his team, why do you think they think it's a good idea to have the election together with the referendum in 2022?
Miriam,
What do they
from
intend
the
to
onset,
achieve?
the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya was never concerned with the COVID issue that he says the billions that we are supposed to use on a referendum can be able to be used on mitigation of COVID-19. Deputy President has been termed by some quarters as one of the biggest spreaders of the coronavirus. Deputy President, in every place he has gone in this country, some people have died, some have gone on media, some we have reported on social media, some we could not report because they were poor people and real strugglers of this nation. Deputy President William Ruto concerned about combining the election and the referendum in 2022 is not a genuine concern. Deputy President is saying in 2022 we shall vote for 9 clauses that we shall take yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, and we shall have 6 candidates that we shall be voting for. 6 people, 6 ballot boxes and 9 clauses. That is impossible. That election will be a mess. We shall finish this after 2 days or maybe 3 days. All I'm asking the Deputy President is this that I've been always telling him, that the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya be a man. Wake up and oppose this document and go to the no camp and nobody will beat you up. You are a Deputy President. You are a leader of millions of Kenyans. And remember, Miriam, we have always had this idea of we cannot support this document, all of us. If the Deputy President is very uneasy about it, in 2005, like many people have held, he opposed the document, the new constitution moment. He opposed the 2010 constitution. Deputy President has never been known as a reformer in this nation, and he cannot be able to be the face of reforms in this nation because every time when people are having problems, remember he went on CNN and I think it's CNN or Al Jazeera. He called people demonstrating for better voting rights, for election results and all that. He called them militia. This is the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. You cannot call Kenyans who are demonstrating for a better election, like Kidi was saying. People were raped, people were maimed, and the people died in that election. All the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, who has now come out clearly now as a reformer in the BBI process, he said those are militias, those are terrorists. One thing we can ask the Deputy President is that to be a man and stand to be counted, there is no time dilly-dallying that we can afford anymore. The Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya is undecisive. He is cunning, and he is a man out on a mission to be able to stop this process. So, Miriam, my humble submission is it is not possible. Logistics cannot be done for those 2 things to be done at the same time in 2022. Remember, Miriam, we are in Kenya, and there are places where people, when elections are crossed at 5 or maybe at 8 p.m., there are places where people could not be able to vote. So the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya is not genuine. That is not possible for us to be able to vote a referendum and an election that we are voting for 6 candidates the same day, Miriam. So my humble submission is the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya is a pretender, is a conman, is a political conman, and a senior hypocrite in this country. We cannot afford to have Deputy President dilly-dallying around. The Honorable Musalia Mudavadi yesterday told him, be a man. Alfred Mutua told him, be a man. Former Speaker of Nairobi County Assembly, Beatrice Serachi, told him to be a man, to stop moving this way. Today he says this thing, tomorrow he says this. We need to decide on the way that we shall go. As a nation, we need to be able to decide on the way that we shall go. And the way is either BBI or no. The Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya is stuck at a crossroad. His ambition has taken over his love for his country. I submit.
All right, very well. So, Kidi, assuming that, of course, he gave 5 5 irreducible minimum there for him to support this BBI process. The first one is that the polls must be held at the same time, and also he insisted that on having a multiple choice referendum. And Kidi, you've said there it's possible, but Jevan, assuming this becomes the case and is adopted, and we have 6 ballot papers, usually that we go voting for positions that you vote for. And then on top of that, should we bring it along with the referendum questions there, and perhaps approach it the way DP Ruto is demanding that is done, article by article? I'm not sure how many ballot papers those will be, or I'm not sure whether it will be just one long ballot paper and you have to go ticking the ones you want and the ones you don't want. And then on top of that, people campaign for this as other positions, and at the same time campaign for or against the referendum. So while there are issues they agree with in there, and there are issues they don't agree with in the same document, I just want to just hypothetically think about it. They're going out there in campaign. So how will they even campaign? Vote for point number 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we are campaigning also against number 10, 11, 12. How do you even see that happening, Jevan?
Let me say this before you go to
all right, go ahead.
Jevan.
Yeah.
One, I have said that is possible.
Mm-hmm.
That we can have the referendum question as the 7th ballot. Mm-hmm. Because previously we used to go to the ballot and vote for 3 positions in a general election. Mm-hmm. Then after the Constitution of Kenya 2010, we moved it to 6, and we were able to open the polling stations by 7 and close by 5. And in the instances where there have been extensions, it is as because circumstances have demanded. Under ideal circumstances, that would be possible. Mm-hmm. The only tragedy is that people who are making this suggestion are not making this suggestion in good faith. Mm-hmm. And I will demonstrate why they do not have good faith. One, people who invested time and energy in the BBI process came up with all these issues. So that, and then democracy as it is designed is that you don't get whatever you want 100%. Then William Ruto stays out of this process, then comes up at the tail end of the process to serve to the demand. One, saying that people who want 35% for the counties, that you can tick yes, but then if you do not want accountability to the judiciary, you tick no.
So how will they count those ballots? How will they even count them?
Now that is also something that I entirely disagree with. Mm-hmm. Because some of us have invested time and energy in this process and come up with this suggestion. If William Ruto is not opposed to some of these suggestions, let him oppose. So that after we've passed this, let him come with another referendum to oppose the suggestions we have made. But then, if in my estimation, as I think that these proposals would help us move forward, right? Mm-hmm. And he will have another day to come and say that we have experimented with this for this long, and this is not working, and this is not working. Mm-hmm. I mean, Americans have got the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, the What Amendment. So yes, this democracy is not an instant coffee. It is work in progress. So at this point in time, the suggestions that we have a multiple question referendum is also what I would call asinine, but of course with due respect.
All right, Jevan Karanja, I'm trying to understand, should at all these proposals be considered, especially the with the multi choices there, and you have to choose and tick, and I don't know, are we going to be given a ballot for every item, or is just going to be one long item and then you have to tick all that? And then when counting, how do they count that? How do they count out of this ballot? We have, say, 15 articles here and issues that are supposed to be voted for. This person has agreed with 10 and the 5 they don't want. So how will that even work?
Miriam, first of all, the people who are making that kind of demands are the people who are opposed to this process. Therefore, yes, or whether we go for a referendum or not, that is not their concern. Because the concerns that are being made by the civil society, the church, and the deputy president, they are not making genuine concerns or points that they consider that will help Kenya. They're just making it for their own political or for their own safety measures. Therefore, there's nothing that we expect good from that kind of Miriam, we understand the kind of difficulties that we go through when we have a general election. Now, Miriam, compare the kind of our elections, and even before the election the voting is closed. You see the allegations where ballot paper have been seen somewhere, where people are chased from the polling stations because of 1 or 2, 3 things. Let happen when we have all those things. Number two, how will the counting be done? We cannot have multiple choices, and we expect now, Miriam, if we do that and we agree to do what the deputy president is suggesting, with a more chaotic kind of election, that people will be considered, some will be bothered on what is happening on the referendum, others will be considered who is winning the presidential elections, who have won the governor position. Then at the end of the day, this country will lose the bigger picture. Kenya together, and will be disintegrated. People will start fighting because all these people, and if we go there, some politicians are very cunning. They will start hijacking the process midway, and they will start saying, in a particular place, this is what is happening. Stop counting in this area, do this. And at the end of the day, that will bring a total and I feel like if these people have a very good idea that they feel take this country forward, they can start the constitution amendment proposals. Nobody in this country is denied that right. We had the Okoa Kenya, and I think if the deputy president and the civil society and the church, they feel like they have a new good ideas for this country, they can as well start their own process, and they call it what they will name it, and we start and we compare. They correct the signatures, they go for the county assemblies, and if it means to go for the referendum, then Kenyans will decide. But this process is started from the handshake. Therefore, the people who started this document, they started it for the sake of peace and bringing unity and prosperity and so on, and equitable share of resources. Therefore, these people had their own agenda, and they invited all Kenyans to give their views. But these people, they didn't. Therefore, this is a contradiction, because at the end of the day, if we allow people who are opposed to this document to be setting the rules, to be giving us the ultimatums that we do this and that, then at the end of the day, we are not working to get our vision or to get to where we are heading to, but we'll be stuck on taking the demands of these people who are not even considered who are not in the process of supporting the BBI. Therefore, for me, I feel it is unrealistic. It will not happen well. And if that is a method to bring more division in this country, and Miriam, if we go there with the IBC that we have doing that kind of election, when the IBC themselves have a stand, when the judiciary have a stand on the BBI, what will happen? We need, first of all, to clean all this mess, because we understand we are still living on this is called a kind of a ceasefire kind of an arrangement, because in 2017, the issues that the judiciary pointed out, the irregularities in the IBC, have not been cleaned yet. We cannot afford to risk going for another referendum when we still have all these messes in our IBC. We have an outgoing Chief Justice. We still not have one. We don't know what will happen. Therefore, this process, let's finish one process at a time. And if it means even, and Miriam, there's a time we talked even of extending the term of these members of parliament. If it means for them to be extended the term so that we can bring all the issues of the deputy president and the church, then let it be it. But we cannot afford to go for an election that will bring chaos in this country. It will not be fair at all.
Right, very well. So the DP termed reckless the push by the BBI proponents that those opposed to the BBI bill proceed and mount a parallel no campaign since the door for any amendments has been shut. There are people who are saying it is too late. What is the crisis? What is the problem? This is our country. If the proposals we are making today are reasonable, all it will require is to publish the bill and we will go for a referendum, Ruto said. The DP said the ongoing process for signature collection is just the easy part of the whole process, insisting the elephant in the room was format of vote on the contents. The DP said the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020 should be recalled and amended to accommodate a raft of proposals that he said would eliminate a personality-driven referendum. However, DP's push for multiple choice referendum faces an uphill task as Uhuru and Raila's allies are pushing for a yes or no referendum. And just beside this story, still on page 5 of the Star newspaper, there's a piece there, I think an opinion piece that has been written by Junet Mohammed. It had to be Junet Mohammed. And up there, the title is Ruto wants to lead a no campaign, but is a coward. Douglas.
Miriam, in Russia, they brought sweeping presidential powers and amendment bill. They were termed sweeping presidential powers bill. It was nicknamed that way, but it was some amendments that the Prime Minister Medvedev Dmitry did not agree to. And what they did, it was changed from the Prime Minister to intelligence chief. And in Catalonia, they were saying we want a referendum for us to be able to move forward. In Britain, we have had a Brexit. That is the latest referendum that we have had that has cost 3 prime ministers their positions. And it is a referendum of people with the highest levels of literacy. What they did, they asked for a yes or no. In Russia, they asked for a yes or no. In Catalonia, they asked for yes or no. In most countries in recent days or in recent past where they have asked for a referendum, it was a question of yes or no. The multiple choice by the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya option for a referendum is something that is not only going to face an uphill task, it's something that is not possible. If Deputy President is doing a benchmarking, which country is he doing a benchmarking from? That shows you it is a clever or a covert plan or a mission for him to be able to subvert the course of the BBI process. The Deputy President has been curtailing this process for so long, for over 2 years now, but he has taken this game a little bit higher. He has taken this game into a game of hide and seek in terms of amendments, proposals, and one of the greatest and famous ones that he has been using around town called consensus. This kind of consensus that the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya is asking is not even possible. What we need is the Deputy President telling us what Mother Karua said the other day is nothing? Is the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya telling us what the other civil society people who are calling them anti-BBI proponents? Is the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya saying those people are mad? Definitely, he is saying yes. He is saying the people that he is funding are people with no direction, and also he has no use of his monies. Because most of the people that are opposing BBI from covert sidelines are people that are funded the president. But we cannot also go and say a position of a people that believe that the constitutional change or this constitutional movement is not good for this country. There are many people in their millions in this country who don't agree to that. Where are they going to be taken? Are they followers of Deputy President? Definitely no. So the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya has shown the highest levels of hypocrisy in the public sphere and also on the political scene. It is not possible to have the kind of the consensus that he is talking about unless he is the Deputy President of another country or a Vice President of another country. In this country, Miriam, I have friends, my own friends, who don't agree to my Catholic faith, who are Protestants, and we are good friends. I have people who are different, or who want to live in a different village than I am. They don't want to live in our village. So Miriam, in our diverse ways, in our diverse views and perspectives in this life, we can only be able to have an opportunity to give Kenyans a chance to decide, is this the thing that Kenyans want? Yes. If it is, 60% approval rating at the ballot. If they don't, that percent disapproval rating, then the winner takes it. At the end of the day, Miriam, what we are seeking is a consensus at the ballot. Are these people going to agree on these matters? No. In 2010, we had a population of 43% of Kenyans including the church and the deputy president, were saying that the constitution of the Republic of Kenya that we have today is not even progressive. They had all manner of things, including William Ruto was saying the only way to be able to bring consensus in this nation is to vote for no. Actually, he didn't know if he voted for no in 2010, the constitution is going to go forward. So he said the only way to bring the former prime minister, which I have said many times, the former prime minister and also the president of that time, Mwai Kibaki, on the table is to vote for no and hear what Kenyans are saying. What Kenyans are saying, Mr. Deputy President, if no one told you, Kenyans are saying they are waiting for the BBI process at the ballot to vote for it. And also they are waiting for it at June 21st, some section of Kenyans to be able to disagree with it. And there is nothing makes them raise Kenyans. There is nothing that makes me a better Kenyans than others, since I support BBI. So Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya is a supporter, and also he is a man out on a mission to embarrass his boss, the constitutional votes that he is supposed to work with, and also embarrass Kenyans because what he is trying to do is something that is very impossible. I know the Deputy President has a technical team of people who will also use a lot of English to be able to oppose this document. Miriam is opposing this document. As you can see, there are people who have held on helping him, like David Day, the way he was confusing Honorable Raila Odinga in 2017 and 2018. He has now gone back to Ghana to be able to convince the Deputy President cleverly but covertly opposing the government and also opposing the BBI process in terms of big English. He should stop big English and go ahead and oppose this document. He is not a lesser Kenyan when he opposes it. Actually, the BBI process might even favor him more than I do. He is a very senior politician in this country. He has a lot of followers in this country. So, Miriam, in my opinion, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya and his draft, what he's saying, draft of proposals to be included in the BBI process, we can never agree on one particular cause as a nation. In 1960, we could not agree. 1962, we could not agree. 1963, they had to come to a compromise. Miriam, remember in this nation, we have always had a time we could not agree. Before I cross Miriam, in 1990, Kenyans wanted Section 2A of the Constitution to be repealed so that Kenya can become a multi-party state. There were people, including the president who has been known now as an economic giant and a very progressive president, President Mwai Kibaki of our republic. He told Kenyans they should go opposing kind of government and one party state rule was like trying to cut an ugumo tree using your fingertips. There are so many senior Kenyans who opposed and also threatened Kenyans when they tried, including Honorable Nicholas Biwott. He threatened Kenyans when they wanted to change, to repeal Section 2A of the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya. But the good president, former president Arap Moi, was touched and also repelled that. And Kenya went on a path to a more democratic, more cohesive, and a more accommodating Kenya. So what the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya is trying to do is not possible. And Kenya is not in shortage of foods like he always says. He has taken us for foods for so many times, and we are tired, Miriam.
Okay, very well. So the headline on the Daily Nation says a yes or no. Ruto sets BBI terms. What's up his sleeve? The Deputy President blew hot and cold yesterday as he outlined conditions for a non-contested, non-divisive referendum, which the Raila camp immediately laughed off. The stories on page 4 of the Daily Nation there. So he's blowing here hot and cold. And the Deputy President started by opposing this process. He did not like the handshake. I think that was the beginning. But before that, there seems to be a bit of crack in the Jubilee Party there. So the handshake only exposed it. And then later on, when President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga started this BBI process, now that he did not like, and he's been very consistent with that. And then later on, he started calling for consensus. Which some of the things he mentioned during the last launch of the BBI report there were actually included and accommodated in the report now, at least 70%. And he tweeted very quickly and he said, you know what, that's a good progress. We've made some progress, but, still calling for consensus. And now he has shifted that goalpost and is saying, you know what, maybe we just do it in 2022. But even with all that, he's not come out and said, I support the BBI, process. Akili? Why do you think he's not coming out clearly and saying, I support this process, but can this be changed? But he wants it changed, but not want to be inside, the process itself.
Now, that is why some of us have begun to dismiss William Ruto, in spite of the fact that previously we were willing to listen to William Ruto. Democracy is designed to thrive on constant dialogue. Some of us have avoided taking a bellicose or a belligerent stand against those who are opposed to the BBI process because we thought we could mold a consensus. But then the people who are opposed to the BBI process have demonstrated that one, they have not demonstrated good faith. So that William Ruto is trying to do what they call that having your cake and eating it, which is impossible practically. So that he tells us that I do not like this, I do not like this, I do not like this, but then he is not coming in to say that from within, so that we are able to have a constructive engagement. But then he stands out there and shouting which is intended to attract attention to himself, but not to the problems that are bedeviling the people of Kenya and how to collectively solve them. Part of why this is happening is that William Ruto and people around him believe that one, if they can derail this process up to 2022, that the current political configuration as it is favors them. But then you realize that the BBI should not be about 2022. BBI should not be about any specific individual. If anything, for instance, there is one thing that a lot of people are afraid to talk about because they are going to be labeled to be speaking for the dynasties. But let me bite the bullet and speak about it. Creation of the post of the Prime Minister and the deputies and whatnot, which others call expansion of the executive. One, it is not expansion, it is a restructuring. The other question is, what is that supposed restructuring seeking to achieve? Is that we've seen that pure presidential system is so chaotic that even advanced democracies have shied away from pure presidential system, except for US. But you realize that even in the US, we have strengthened the state so that issues of, let's say, resource allocation, issues of dealing with police are at the state level. So that a time has also come for we as a people to figure out an autochthonous constitutional model that uniquely suits our circumstances, that ensures that there is political stability. One, usually, because political interests usually change, we want a political model that ensures that if there is a political instability within the political class, that instability does not cascade down into the polity. And I want to illustrate. In 2008-2009 in South Africa, there was a political instability within ANC. Members of ANC were able to deal with that and eject out Mbeki without that instability cascading down into the polity. Closer home in Ethiopia, during the election of the current prime minister, you realize that when there was instability within the political party, they were able to eject the then prime minister and bring the new one without that instability cascading down to the people. That is part of why we wanted to go to a parliamentary model. But then we haven't gone there fully. We've made a small step. Even that small step is progress. So how is this going to help us? That one, we want to be able to go to elections and resolve our issues at the ballot and make sure that if there is an instability within the political class, that does not cascade down into the people. So part of why, but then because people who are opposed to this process have, instead of telling the people the truth or what these things will be serving, they've decided to cry wolf and say that this is about Raila Odinga, this is about dynasties, this is about. Well, if we were to talk about dynasties, you realize that in 92, William Ruto was in Kano, which of course then was dynasty, my party today. In 97, he voted with the dynasty, quote unquote. In 2002. In 2007, when he supposedly voted for Raila Odinga, of course was also a dynasty, he was doing so because there was the promise of reward, of being, occupying a very powerful city that in a government that they would have formed. So that time has come for us to run away from self-interest in isolation and look at the bigger picture. William Ruto is playing politics of selfish political self-interest, and that is why we must now stop him. That is why we must now call him out, and that is why we must ask the people of Kenya to come out and support the BBI process so that we are able to effect some of these changes, especially when we talk about the system of governance, the structure of governance. We must now go back to parliamentary model. The other thing, the Constitution of Kenya 2010 said that people who are to be appointed as cabinet secretaries would come out of parliament. What then happened is that William Ruto, together with the president, then working together as colleagues, made sure that they appointed people who did not enjoy political legitimacy. So that those people who are then serving as cabinet secretaries were nothing more than elevated permanent secretaries. So what had then happened is that there was the accountability between the executive and the legislature was greatly hampered. Many were the times that when the cabinet secretaries would be summoned to appear in cabinet in parliament, but they would give parliament a wide berth. That is something that we must rectify, because if you remember during the Grand Coalition, when we had members of the executive in parliament, it was easy for them to respond to the questions of members. That is something that we can't run away from. But then that is not something you can fix through, to fix that you have to go to the people as our constitution is designed. Article 255, Article 256, and Article 257. People like William Ruto are not telling people this. We must tell the people, and because William Ruto is lying, we shall call him out. Thank you.
Okay, so the story on page 4 and 5, before you come in, on page 4 and 5 of the Daily Nation, somewhere down there says, at the meeting, those for and against the BBI clashed openly. So apparently, even in this meeting yesterday, there are DP's meeting yesterday with the members of parliament or politicians allied to him. There are those who are supporting the BBI process and there are those who are opposing now, as we read here in the Daily Nation. And so they clashed openly as the deputy president looked on. Some of the Tanga political outfit comprised of the DP's allies leading warned him that regions that support him, especially in Mount Kenya and Rift Valley, have not warmed up to the BBI, and backing it outright could mean losing their support. At one point, an MP from Central faulted the DP for a tweet that the lawmaker said confused the Hustler movement, as DP's support base is called. That tweet saying that all our issues have been captured in the revised Aboma's BBI caused confusion and made it seem as if she was supporting BBI. We got a lot of backlash, the MP told a pensive DP. Now, those urging Dr. Ruto to support the document and agree to a referendum next year argued that it will free his resources to focus on 2022 and could also benefit from some of the positions being created in BBI or use them to lead us to his corner. They wanted the referendum issue done with and we focus on 2022. This thing is eating too much of our time, and if we are not careful, it will eat into our resources, a senator from the Rift Valley told the gathering. So even in DP's camp, they're divided. They're divided into this matter because, and they're saying that tweet you made confused the Hustler movement, but the other side is saying, can we just support this thing so that it just goes through, we're done with, and we're left to focus 2022, Jevan?
Yeah, that is something that Miriam, I did know that the Standard newspaper will catch it up today, but something that I said yesterday, that this thing will divide, and in near future, Miriam, we are expecting to see a wider divide on this camp. And why is it happening so? And you see, the problem with that, people who are opposing this, they are saying that they are facing opposition from their electorates. And this is how it is coming. You know, like, for example, we go to Nyeri, we have a member of parliament who is opposing the process, the MP for Madeira, Rigathi Gachagua. And you see, the person who have been given the overall role to sell BBI in Mount Kenya as the coordinator was his opponent in the ballot, Peter Weru. Therefore, when this Peter Weru will be going around the villages of Madeira selling BBI, that will put the incumbent member of parliament at risk. And that is what they don't want to face. Because when they start facing that kind of opposition right now, this will be it will be easy for the opponent to paint their name in bad faith or in good faith. And at the end of the day, the electorates will have an option and see the bad things that the MP is doing, the good things that he has failed to do. And at the end of the day, the people might, even if they wanted to vote for you, and you are here with BBI, you are telling them the goods of the BBI, how it will benefit them, and they buy that idea, then that will be underscore for the incumbent, and that is what they are running away from, because they don't see a scenario where they're likely to lose their seats simply because they didn't support a BBI that was quite relevant or was quite big in the villages where they come from. That is the main reason why they, especially here in Mount Kenya and some parts of the Rift Valley, because at the end of the day, the people, they were talking of the minimum guarantee returns. But when you look keenly, you see that the Ministry of Agriculture is doing a lot. And when these people now, and the electorates are now being enlightened on what is happening on the agricultural sector, agriculture is a devolved function, we are increasing the funds to the county governments, the electorates now are starting to see the good things in the BBI process. But on the contrary, these people who have been opposing the BBI, they were not doing it genuinely. They had no option. They are just doing it for the sake of their political relevance. And that is why you find the opposition coming in the Tanga wing. And to some point, they were quite happy when the deputy president suggested that he might be supporting the document. And we have seen even the former CS, Mwangi Kiunjuri, coming frontline of supporting the process. And yesterday he was in Karen. Miriam, that kind of uncertainty is what is affecting the troops in Tanga, and they are quite not sure where to go, because the ground now, Miriam, when you go in every corner of this country, the discussion, the topics in our local radio stations is BBI, and people now are starting being enlightened, and that is the fear they have, because they have been saying that Kenyans are not fools, and they are coming to terms with what they mean, that Kenyans nowadays, they are reading the document, they understand what is its content, and now they are fearing that if we go on pushing for this no camp, and you look, for example, those who come from, in a political view, those who come from Mount Kenya region, the minority are the one who are opposing the document in the incumbent members of parliament. Those who lost their seats in 2017, most of them are supporting the document. Some of the incumbent are supporting the document. Now, this figure, this force of politicians who are supporting it, they are quite outdoing those who are opposing it, especially in Mount Kenya and some parts where this document was where Ruto has thought is their strongholds. Therefore, they have a reason to be worried, and that is the politics behind the divisions that we are seeing in Tanga camp. And in future, we anticipate more of these people. The Tanga will start failing out. People will start moving to support the document, and others will just decide to go silent and just to watch things from a distance, because they don't want to be seen as the people who oppose good things to the electorates, people who oppose good things coming to their villages. And that is something that has, this thing of one man, one vote shillings is something that is quite affecting the Tangas in Mount Kenya and some other parts of this country. Therefore, as we move on, Miriam, I anticipate that if William Ruto fails to bring his troops in order at this time, then as we move to 2021 and where the big campaigns will take momentum, then he might also be left with the people from Rift Valley and his other cronies from parts of the country. But in Mount Kenya, the politics have changed, and you see the people who have an issue on this issue are mostly from the Rift Valley and Mount Kenya region, because they don't see anything bad with this document. And finally, I feel like moving on, these people should also start understanding that electorates have reached to a point where they can decide on their own. This is not a matter of pushing people to a corner. People have their rights to decide whether to support or not. Therefore, they should not start calling for a consensus overwhelmingly that it's only a consensus that will bring peace in this country. No, we have Kenyans who are opposed to the document. They don't want to hear this consensus. And those Kenyans who are opposing this document must be given a chance to say a word on the referendum so that their voice will be heard. We will not force them to for a consensus.
All right.
Yeah.
Very well. And there's also a group of other Kenyans who I surprised this morning. I also gone to court to sue. They want the BBI process to stop. And these are the nurses. Can you believe that? Page 6 of the Standard newspaper, just somewhere down there, says nurses have joined the list of those challenging the Building Bridges initiative with a petition to stop the ongoing signature collection. The Kenya National Union of Nurses claims that their proposals to the BBI Steering Committee were not captured in the Constitution of Kenya, Amendment Bill 2020 as published last week. Now, through lawyer Edgar Busiega, the Nurses Union argued that they had a legitimate expectation that their proposal on the establishment of an independent health service commission to cater for health workers would be considered but has been omitted in the final document. Nurses had expectation of establishment of the commission would cure the turmoil that have characterized the health sector for many years. Other proposals nurses said they made to the BBI committee but which have not been included in the final draft were the recognition of the universal health care as a human right, expansion of free basic education, and removal of the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. Kidi.
Yes. One thing about health is that I blame the national government in the mess that is in the health docket. Because you look at monies that has been allocated to the health ministry in the last 7 years, and the money that has been allocated that has been going down to counties for purposes of administration of the health docket, then you realize that the health ministry has still had a bigger chunk than that which has gone to all the 47 counties for purposes of health as a devolved function. For instance, you realize that in 2015, there was the debacle that was called the Mafia House scandal. So that the Health Commission was seeking to transfer matters of human resource from the counties back to the national government. Opposing the BBI process on that account in isolation, in my view, would be a bit short-term thinking. Because these are things we can make better, even with the statutes, when we have passed this process. So the opposition to this, and Panyako is also a politician, the Secretary General. So I think if they were to engage, if they are to come out and engage this process with more good faith, these are the things that we will overcome. But the national government got to get its acts right, especially in regards to how it conducts matters of healthcare, especially primary healthcare and secondary healthcare. Thank you.
Okay. Douglas, the nurses, these demands they're making, and they're saying these are some of the proposals they had forwarded to the BBI team, but they were not captured. The final draft did not capture some of their proposals there. They're saying they want they want a recognition of the universal health care as a human right. They wanted that included in the BBI, and also expansion of free basic education and removal of the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. These are things that directly affect the people of Kenya. And for once, whatever the proposals they're saying here, these are majority of things that affect the majority of Kenyans here. So it's not selfish like we've seen the governor's demand for certain things and other people. These are things that affect Kenyans, and so are the nurses there right in their concern.
Thank you, Miriam. The nurses are right. My sister is a nurse, and I respect her, and I also respect their position. And when they raise their issues, I'm affected because I'm always peeping on the TV to see if I can see my sister, I can spot my sister. And most of the time, are those times I will side with them. But Miriam, as we all know, universal um, health right for Kenyans is something that can be progressive, is something that can be worked. We can be able to work on that. And universal health care has been on the route. It's something that is being worked on. And also there was a pilot project that was done. And it's something that the government, we can commend the government for what it is doing on that. And that is something that we can also bring back to Parliament and also be able to do that. That is not something that we can now delay the process and also go to court to block the BBI process from going through, because we have not that particular amendment that recognizes universal health care as a right. But we can be able to come back and also do it, as we have also done with the pilot project. We have seen it is working. Now we can be able to now get to a point where we can be able to incorporate that. It is something that is very, 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 very crucial to the well-being of Kenyans and also our health care. One of the things when I go to hospitals, I listen from the doctors and nurses and health workers is that they suffer for and behalf of Kenyans. For example, in COVID times, I have never met my sister since COVID started. I think I have met her once when the pandemic was not worse, because I cannot meet my sister because my sister is a medic and also the husband is a medic. I can't be able to meet my loved ones because they want to protect the lives of Kenyans. So that is something that their concern is very valid, but also there's something that is being done about it. It's not something that is not touched or something that has not been started.
The government is working on it. Yeah, President Uhuru Kenyatta, universal healthcare, as a matter of fact, is just one of his big four agendas. So that is something that the government is already paying attention to it. But also something else, Douglas, and perhaps Jevan, even as we conclude, because you have to conclude and then come back and continue looking at the BBI and those 5 proposals by Ruto. We've not exhausted them. I've left some of that conversation for 11 a.m. Something else that the nurses want is the expansion of free basic education, which that will benefit a lot of poor Kenyans. And also something else,
Medium, yes. The expansion of basic education is something that is still still being done about it. And also what the nurses are also asking, the scrapping of CRC, that if they presented that. Remember, Atwori, as one of the biggest proponent of BBI process, has been talking about whatever he calls the ending of the CRC, and that has affected a lot of workers across the nation. And it has not been captured, and we have not had him talk about it. We have not had him pass ultimatums as the leader of workers across this nation, as the Secretary General of COTU. But one thing we can be able to agree with is that CRC will go, Miriam, it will go, and it is going to be scrapped very soon. And it is on a path to go, because Miriam, one thing that we can all agree is that CRC is one of those institutions that Kenyans want struck out, because not only nurses, there are many Kenyans whose concerns are very varied as far as CRC is concerned.
But we've seen them, if we remove the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, we've seen the work there is to make sure that there's a balanced way in which people are remunerated.
But Miriam, except that there are serious reforms that are done at the CRC. CRC is something that is going to be opposed by so many Kenyans.
CRC.
Because Miriam...
You mean SRC, the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, SRC? Mm-hmm.
Yes, I'm talking about CRC, because it is one of the institutions that has affected a lot of Kenyans. And unless serious reforms are done there, nobody will agree with it. Atwori doesn't agree with CRC. I don't agree with it. And nurses don't agree with the CRC. People are suffering because of CRC, and workers are suffering. We need to do reforms there. If we cannot do reforms there, as the nurses are saying, scrap it.
Mm-hmm. Jevan, why would the nurses, I'm just curious to know, why would the nurses, they want the Salaries and Remuneration Commission to be removed? And we know it has been, I don't know, of course at loggerheads with a lot of civil servants, including especially our politicians, because it seeks to put a maximum on how much people will be paid. Why would they have a problem with that? Jevon. All right, so Jevon seems to have suffered a bit of a signal problem there, but we shall have him back. So as we conclude there, Kitty, the nurses are saying one of the demands that they wanted to be included in the BBI report was to the scrapping away of the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. Do they have any grounds? I would like to know the reasons as to why they want this scrapped off. Why do you think this is something they want included? Oh, Kitty also is not there. All right, so Douglas, conclude for us.
One of the reasons why I would suggest that these people would want CLC scrapped is that CLC, when they set a ceiling for the salaries and all that, remember, people like nurses and the other people who are frontline workers in this nation, when they are put on the ceilings that are being set by CLC, are not compatible with the work that they do. And also, remember, when you want to do something like the Machakos governor was doing, complementing and also adding something small for the frontline workers to be able to continue working, CRC went on and made a statement and asked the governor is doing a PR stand, but we know that the governor is the boss for these nurses, but he cannot be able to effect that. The nurses themselves, their demands cannot be listened to. CRC does not listen, and CLC has adopted a culture where, since it was formed, that they can no longer listen to the demands of civil servants across the nation. And also, we've seen that CLC is one of the institutions. If it is not reformed, Miriam, I agree. And also agree with many people. It is going. Kitty is back. Kitty can conclude for us as far as that thing is concerned. Maybe I may not have captured it the way Kitty would have captured it. We want to hear what Kitty says.
Kitty, are you back?
Yes, thank you. Ask me. I missed the last part of the question.
All right. So among other issues that the nurses are saying now, they want the process of collecting of signatures and they're to be presented to the IBC stopped. The BBI process there, because they're saying they had a few issues that they had brought to the steering committee that was not captured, and one of them, they wanted the scraping away of the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. And I'm just curious to know, what would you think the nurses would have this as one of their demands?
Well, one thing about the SRC, before I go into the meat of that question, is that SRC has managed to be punitive to the small man, but while not having teeth to deal with the fat cats. And in this case, I'm referring to the MPs. So that MPs have always had a way of the political class, that is, have always had their way and their say in everything they've wanted without SRC being able to do anything. But then you realize that the measures that the SRC seeks to put in place have in effect been punitive to the small man. So that in Swahili they say utamu wa kazi ni pesa. And nurses have found themselves in an awkward situation where they demand a salary rise because there is inflation. And therefore, the cost of living has skyrocketed for average households, including the nurses. And then when they go to the employer to demand for a salary rise, then the SRC tells them that is illegal, that is unconstitutional, that is what. So it is this that would inflame the anger of the nurses. And I think because SRC has managed to generate more heat than light in the last 8 years. Before Serem, even after Serem has left, we've seen that it has not been able to contain the political class, which of course is the one party that has been responsible for our skyrocketing wage bill. I think it's time we figure out how to manage our wage bill without necessarily having the SRC in place. Because the SRC has demonstrated that it is anti the common person, it is anti what we call the working class. Thank you.
All right, very well. Thank you so much, Akidi Mwage. Thank you, Douglas Kirimi, and also Javan Karanja, who had a bit of a problem with his signal, but I'm sure he shall be back here at 11 with us. So we will take a break, but we shall be back here at 11 to continue with this conversation. Remember, yesterday, DP Ruto and his allies made about 5 points that they're saying those are their irreducible minimum must be met before they are able to support the BBI process. We've just looked at, I think, 2, so we shall come back and look at the rest, and also how was the response, what are other people thinking, and really, is it too late for these changes to be effected in the BBI report? My name is Miriam Mugutu. Good morning.